Right, ready when you are, Rachel.
Okay, do you want to move forward?
Yeah, sure.
So, welcome everybody. Clearly got a much funkier picture of me there than I'm probably looking on this lovely lunchtime, but really pleased to have so many people join us on this first event. This event, Innovation in the UK, is the very first of our IoT Inspire events. But before we go forward, we're very new within the East Midlands Institute of Technology. And one of the ambitions is to make sure that we're adding far more value. I'm going to tell you a bit about what the Institute of Technology is as well, because some of you won't have had a chance to engage directly with the central team or really understand what we're aiming to do through the Institute of Technology partnership. But the big aim for these particular events, if you want to move forward, please, is that we want to be bringing you a series of events that will add value and allow an opportunity for teachers and tutors within the Institute of Technology, with our industry partners and all of the students that are on Institute of Technology pathways and learning opportunities, to come together and look at some of the bigger and more impactful issues that are affecting our region, and things that are actually of relevance to all people in tech careers and on technical skills pathways. So today, really pleased to be looking at the whole issue of innovation. And what you'll see is once we've held these events, we'll create more opportunities for you to find out more and to connect with other learning tools, with elements of your course pathway that can reinforce this learning and add value. Today we're hearing from our expert speakers. So I'll be introducing the chair of the Institute of Technology, Martin Wrigley OBE, who's been chairing us for about a year now. Happy almost anniversary, Martin. So Martin's been working extensively around delivering a whole programme of training around innovation theory at a higher education level across the region, and he's going to bring a snapshot of that to us today. But also Dr. John Thorley, who will be speaking on how we can take a more method-based approach to the application of innovation and innovative thinking within an industrial context. Going forward, there'll be more of these events coming up, and really keep an eye out. And I know Sean towards the end will be telling you how you can have more awareness of this. Before we just launch into it, I want to give a quick awareness of exactly what the Institute of Technology is, because you will probably have seen the black and white logo in different places. You'll be aware of it, but not necessarily what it means. So in short, what we're trying to do through the Institute of Technology is to bring much more coordination across multiple academic partners and industry to make sure that we are delivering the technical skills that are needed across the East Midlands region. So we have a range of major business partners, and you can see those on screen now, but also beyond this, some other business partners that are increasingly working with us. And they work with our education partners across Derby and Loughborough at the minute to make sure that the curriculum that is available and the added value opportunities like today really start to meet the job and career demand that we've got in region. So over time, what you'll be seeing is more of these events, particularly focused on the sectors in which we specialise. That includes the kind of digital, automation and data science area, engineering and advanced manufacturing, and a big focus on professional construction and the growth of infrastructure across our region, particularly in the area of energy. So there'll be lots of elements coming up as we go forward, but it'd be really great to see you tap into more of those as we carry on. Institutes of Technology, there are 21 institutes of technology up and down the country. We are one of the second wave of those, and we've been really busy building buildings to make sure that we've got the facilities that are absolutely spot on to be able to deliver the class of technical education that we absolutely need in region. We've had a bit, there's been extensive government investment in those facilities, and our approach is to really make sure that you have access to lifelong technical upskilling opportunities, right from T levels and A level all the way up to master's level qualifications, and to make those more bite-sized and accessible throughout your learning journey, and also to make sure that our teachers and tutors are part of the learning journey as a collective, and that we're all developing at the same kind of pace. So really hope that you can find out more at, collectively what's happening across institutes of technology, but also what's happening here, and we will be in touch again in the future. But for now, I'd absolutely like to hand over to our first speaker, which is our chair, Martin Wrigley, to take on the beginning area around innovation in practice. Martin, I'll hand over to you.
Thanks, Rachel. I hope everybody can hear me okay. Yeah. So as Rachel said, this is a really shortened version of a longer presentation that I've been doing for a number of years. I tweak and tailor it every year. But what I'm going to talk about innovation from the standpoint of a practitioner. So I'm going to move to the next slide, please. So just to give a little background about myself, born in North Nottinghamshire, I started life as a degree apprentice in coal mining, where I got my degree and became chartered. I spent 14 years in total as an engineer, working in coal mine, electrical engineer, and then I left in 1994, a long time ago now, and joined our family business, Lyndhurst Engineering, of which I was managing director for the last 20 years up until 2023. I'm now supporting a number of local startup businesses and early stage businesses, doing BD and all sorts of coaching support to them. And as Rachel's we started to allude to, in 2016 I was awarded an MBE for Services to Business and Innovation, which is interesting because probably at that time I didn't necessarily think I was an innovator, but I definitely do now. I think we needed that for me to realise I was. And in 2014 I was, I suppose, I was upgraded to an OBE for services to COVID pandemic response in Nottinghamshire and Derbyshire. Next slide, please, Sean. So I thought to start with the dictionary definition of the word innovate. So it's a verb, which means making changes in something established, especially by introducing new methods, ideas, or products, and introducing something new, especially a product. So I think the first point to really make there is that a lot of people just think innovation is about developing a new product. It can be about a different way of working, a different service within, or a different process or methodology within an organisation. Next slide, please, Sean. So I've not seen John's slide, and it's probably a good job I've not. So I've done this before when you do this from a practitioner point of view, from an academic point of view. But what I've got here is there's lots of different models and way of looking at innovation. So here I've got actually what the theory tells you, and actually just to reflect on what actually happened in practice. So when I said to you I was MD at Lyndhurst Engineering for 29 years, we were predominantly steel fabrication business. We also designed and built a lot of bespoke machines for all sorts of different sectors. And people would approach us with a problem and we'd say, yeah, we'll have a go at that and we'll see if we can do it. So we were definitely innovating all the time. And in fact, somebody once likened us to a bit of an ideas factory because we did such a variety of different things. But theory would tell you that initially you start with an idea. So you whether it's that light bulb moment or you spot something or you're in conversation and you think there's an opportunity here to develop a product, and typically what would happen at that point is you think about market opportunity. So if you're developing a product that's got mass appeal, you first of all need to decide whether it has got any market appeal. I have fallen foul of that myself. A couple of things that we worked at, I spent a lot of time and a lot of money developing, which I looked at it through an engineer's eyes, but without thinking about it from a business point of view. So it was a brilliant piece of technology, but probably hadn't actually got the market attraction. And I said to you, in my old business, it wasn't necessarily us having a light bulb moment. People came to with a problem, and we said, yeah, we think we can solve that. Theory would then say the next thing you look at what resources have you got. So have you got the right people? Have you got the finances? Have you got the facility to match the goal, the realization of the goal within the organisation? In practice, in my old business, we would then consider at that point, we then look and say, look and think about the risk to the business. So have we got the technical skills? Do we need to bring in partner with anybody else? Sorry, can you just go back, Sean? Thank you. Do we need to partner with anybody else? Which we did do from time to time. And we've got the financial resources to be able to manage this project, or can we talk to the client to agree what the financial package is going to be? And have we got the resources in terms of facilities? And again, there were times when we rented additional premises, bought in additional pieces of equipment to be able to manage some of the projects that we did. So theory would then say, you then go on to investigate, so you research the possibilities. So at that stage, we would then involve as many people from within our organisation that we needed to bring that project, that we thought we needed to bring that project to realisation. So that would definitely have been the people who are going to manufacture it in the first place. So it's no good us designing something if we can't physically manufacture it. And also the guys have got to install it and commission it, because it's no good to say, there you go, we manufactured that, off you go and make that work. So we got as many people involved. And that was, I think, out of all these stages, that was probably one of our greatest successes. And why we were successful, because we involved everybody. Stage 4, then, theory would say traditionally start looking at managing your intellectual property there by looking at registering patents. Because of majority of the projects that we did were low priority. There was a low priority for us because there wasn't always necessarily the market potential there. So if somebody wants a machine to put an end on a metal can and of a certain size, there's probably not that many metal cans of that size in the world to warrant it. So patents were always a lower priority for us. We did from time to time step into the patent game, but I think what you also got to realise is patents is an expensive game, particularly for small to medium-sized enterprise. You need some very deep pockets to get patents kicked off in the first place, and there are potentially other ways that you can protect your IP. Thanks, Rachel. Stage 5, then design. So theory would say you model it, you test it, and see if it's going to work. So at that point, we design it and review it, again, involving everybody that was involved in that initial investigation. So the people who are going to manufacture it, the guys who are going to install it, to make sure that the design was good, fit for purpose. But then move on to develop, improve the technology. So normally there's a bit of an iterative stage, but for us, that really rolled into stage 7, which is the make. So start production. Usually we're against extremely tight deadlines, and I should say nearly every single case we would have to modify the design as we went along, as we start to learn and we start to see what's happening. But do that in conjunction with all of our internal stakeholders, people who are going to manufacture it, people who are going to install it, but also with the client as well, so that they're vested in that decision. Stage 8, then theory would say, then you get to that selling stage, you start to advertise it, inform people. I think for our business, and I should say this is majority of small to medium-sized enterprises that I encounter, it's an area they're particularly weak on, because they're generally moving on to the next project. So suppose work just gets in the way. And then the 9th and final stage of a service is to communicate with all customers. Theory would tell you, in our case, if the customer's happy, we get the payment and we move on to the next project. But in reality, we've probably already started this. We've jumped back to stage 3 for the next project. Because we're not just one project at a time. It's projects, a sausage machine following on. So we've already restarted the next part of the process, which is why it's difficult sometimes to think about the marketing and the market capacity for that technology. Do you want to move on to the next slide then, please? So just a few thoughts on stimulating innovation. So I really tried to create a culture where we remove fear of failure. No idea is too crazy. And because we involve everybody in that decision making, sometimes some people who come in, particularly junior members of staff, and you can see they're a little bit reticent to say something. We try and create a culture where they feel confident to contribute. And you know what? A lot of times we've seen apprentices have come out with really good ideas, things that we've not thought about. So remove that fear of failure. And I suppose the other thing is be prepared to fail fast, because you've got a tight deadline. Involve as many team members as you can in the process, which you've talked about within that stage process. Expect the unexpected, just prepare to sweat it to solve it. So yeah, you will always encounter bumps in the road that you're not anticipated. Just be prepared to work at it to get over that problem. I wanted a project for Rolls-Royce, and we got to we broke up for Christmas, and I thought it was a project too far because I didn't know how we were going to do it. And I've thought about it every Christmas and came back with a solution, but it took a lot of thought and a bit of a pivoting of the idea to get where we needed to get to. This is probably going to contradict what John's going to talk about, but I do have some tools in my tool bag to systemize innovation. But I think to me, it's as much about let people play, to give them that confidence. It really links back to that first bullet point: remove the fear of failure. Let people play, because it does help just speed the process up, and encourage people to do things differently to stimulate them. Which again really comes back to that fear of failure. So just, there is no idea is too stupid. Next slide, please. So again, just really covering what I said in that first definition. Innovation is not just technology; it's about new processes, new methods, new devices, new skills, and even a complete change in direction in your organisation is still a form of innovation. Next slide, please. So put this in. So I saw this slide probably 10 years ago with something I was reading, and I really think this really categorises the characteristics of an innovator's mindset. All the great innovators that I look up to, I would think follow this model. So they're all empathetic. That's part of that culture of reducing that fear of failure. They're all problem finders. It's a bit of a disease, I suppose. We go looking for challenges rather than waiting for it to approach us. We're risk takers. I think we take risks in different people take risks in different degrees, but to be an innovator, you have to be a risk taker. But also, if you think by what I said at early stages, one of the first things we consider is the risk to the organisation. So it's no good taking something on that's going to fail, and then you've risked the business. So they are measured risks. Networked. I cannot, I think I applaud everybody who's coming to this call today, because this is all a form of networking. But throughout your working life, continue to build your network, because I guarantee at some point you'll need something, and from within your network, if you don't know the answer, you'll know a man or a woman who does. Be observant. I get told off all the time by my wife for this. No matter where we go, I'm always looking at structures and welds and how machines work, because it's absorbing that knowledge all the time. Innovators are creators. People tend to think because we are engineers, we are not creative people. Engineers are extremely creative people. And again, within my old team, we had some really creative people that really contributed a lot to the end product. Be resilient. Things will go wrong. Dust yourself up, get up. There will always be a solution. Always be reflective. So when you get to the end of a project, take the time to just reflect on what's gone off and what you can learn from, and don't just keep that to yourself. Go back to that group of people who helped develop that technology or product in the first place. But I think that really, to me, sums up the mindset of an innovator. And I'm going to my last slide now. And I really like this. I used to have this pinned on my notice board in my old office. It's not the strongest, Charles Darwin, it's not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent. It's the most responsive to change. And as innovators, we deal with change every day. And I shall end there. Thank you very much. And we're going to do questions at the end, Rachel. Thank you.
Yeah, if anybody's got any questions, welcome to pop it into the chat, but we will have a session at the end here.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Sean. That was an interesting last slide you got there, Martin. That image and quote is actually on my change management module. So it's captured my imagination as well. Thank you for having me.
We planned this, John.
Sorry?
Anybody think we planned this?
Couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you for having me. My name is John Thorley. So I'm a senior lecturer at the University of Derby, and specifically I teach on strategic management, change management, ability, business improvement, and those kind of things, which I'll be probably talking about partly today. I'm going to say, rather than next slide, Sean, I'll probably say next point, because some of my slides will be just a bullet point. So, but
Sure.
I'll say next
No
slide
worries.
for now, please.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about innovation, and it's not going to be dissimilar to Martin's. There's a lot of overlap and similarities. Just to let you know that my background I am an academic, and I've been for a number of years, but I've also had 25 years in industry, and predominantly leading on business improvement. And so I guess that's partly where the human factor comes into innovation and change. Next points, please. So again, next point, please, Sean. I'm going to be talking about innovation in a fuller picture, probably not as full as what Martin discussed, but from my perspective, and how it impacts on change. Because actually, when we talk about innovation, you can't talk about innovation without talking about change. Next slide, please. Okay, so if you just want to skip the bullet points, there's just a bit of background what we've already done, I think. So just to let you know that I'm a program leader for the Management for Engineers at the University of Derby. I'm the change champion for the college, and also the employability champion. So that's my areas of interest, and I'm passionate about getting people to change themselves, personal transformation, changing mindsets, because I know how much impact that can have on an individual's career. So that's what I'm passionate about achieving as well. Next slide, please, Sean. So what is innovation? Well, again, same as what Martin was talking about, it's not just about inventions. People often assume it's kind of about inventing something new, and it is about new ideas, but products and services, and also processes. But it may also be improving on what we have already. So improving existing processes and adding value and solving problems, and they say meeting emerging needs. So I'm sure we're all very aware of what's happening in the world today around climate and sustainability, and what is required to meet those changes at the moment. Next couple of points, please, Sean. So essentially, we're turning these novel ideas into practical and scalable solutions. So it's not just about the idea itself. So things that enhance efficiency, again, improve experience for individuals and organisations, and it's about doing more with less, so that we can become more profitable or more competitive in our own areas. Next slide, please, Sean. And again, just push through some of these, and I'll talk. So when we're talking about innovation from a bigger perspective, we have to think about the first point, the strategic point. So what is the purpose of what we're doing, and what's the vision? How do we present and communicate that vision to people? So what's the outcome that we wish to see? Now, often when we talk about innovation and we talk about projects or change or improvements or whatever else, often people think about implementing something. So for instance, I've done a lot of research around enterprise resource planning systems, and so people think that the goal is to actually install and implement that system, but actually the goal really is what that system benefits us with. What can we do that we couldn't do before? How can we do it better? How does it reduce the amount of inventory and save costs? How does it improve our decision making? gain more revenue. So it's the reasons as to why we're using this technology. The second point is the technology, which people probably recognize more with innovation. So what is the technology? How is it developing? How do we need to embrace that and integrate it? And again, in what form does that take? When we're talking about enterprise systems, for instance, there's many vendors that are saying that they've got the best solution, and it's a bit of a minefield trying to find out which would work best for your company. And it's not just about the technology, it's about all the work that goes into it before you start to choose the technology, and all the work that goes into it while you're implementing it and there afterwards. That leads us on to the third part of innovation, which is leading the change. And this is the bit that I'm particularly going to sort of dwell on. How do we shape and optimize and deliver those results that we want to see? Next slide, please, Sean. So this is typically some technology, and it's got a variety of sort of applications and things that it can benefit in different areas. You just want to pull the next 3 points up, Sean, please. But it's not the technology itself. So yes, the Internet of Things is about connecting everyday objects to the internet and allowing it to send and receive data, which creates opportunities for innovation. So we can have real-time monitoring, automation, and data-driven decision making. But what we're really interested in is, what are we trying to do? Is this supporting some kind of sustainability? Are we looking at reducing costs? How does this link to our business strategy? What's important and what technology is going to serve us the best? So it's not just about the technology, but more importantly, how do we sell the idea and inspire our staff, motivate people to want to contribute? How do we get the buy-in from other people? And essentially, when we're talking about change, we've got to take people with us. And I've got a little ratio there, 101, you can see on the screen. And what that reminds me of, and from my business improvement days, I've done this myself, I've seen other people do it. When you're trying to drive change, it's sometimes seen as one person taking 100 steps to try and drive. But actually, if you flip that around, the philosophy states that if you've got 100 people taking one step each, then it's a lot more conducive to sustaining change in the first place. Next slide, please, Sean. So here we are. We've got our great idea for the Internet of Things, or for technology change, whatever. I think artificial intelligence is probably the biggest disruptor of the 2025. Next point, please, Sean. But this is often what we get when we got this great idea for change. We've got this great innovative idea, and we get no. Now, people won't necessarily just say no. We're not playing. We're not doing this. We're not engaging. There's lots of different ways in which people actually say no. But this is the reality whenever you try and change just about pretty much anything. Next slide, please. And so research suggests that up to 70% of change initiatives fail to realise the full benefits and expectations. If you just want to pull the rest of the slide out, Sean. So this is some work by Gibbons, who writes about change management. And when we talk about failure, it's not just about complete shutdown, but there's different ways in which things can fail. So he's got this acronym SOX. So the first one is shortfalls in benefits. And this is often the way things fail in terms of technology change, so to speak, that don't deliver the benefits that were promised. And so that's one thing to look out for. Then we've got overruns, so it cost a lot more, and it was more time in producing than we anticipated. Unintended consequences, so things developed well, but also there's things that we weren't expecting that was detrimental to the innovative project, if you like. Killed programs, completely abandoned, and I think Birmingham City Council actually had a problem with enterprise systems, spent a lot of money and abandoned the project which contributed towards their current financial problems. And sustainability of results, so slipping back over time, so things aren't followed through and sustained over time. So Gibbons suggesting that success rate for technology change is about 40%. And of course, one of the best resources that we have in our organization is its people, and people react in different ways and respond in different ways, and that becomes part of the challenge that we face. Next slide, please, Sean. Again, if you want to pull the slide out, so people can respond in different ways, but we talk about readiness and resistance in the same continuum. If you just want to pop back, so either people resist change, or they're ready for change, or maybe they're somewhere on that continuum. And so readiness here, we're defining readiness for change as being collectively, individually and collectively primed, motivated and technically capable. So it's about being willing and able to address the changes that are needed, because whenever we're looking at innovation, we're asking people to change the way they do things or change the way they engage with things. And I'm only too aware of been doing that today on a new platform that we've introduced at the University of Derby, and a job that would normally take me about 25 minutes has took me probably all morning to do, because I'm learning the new system, and it gets quite frustrating. So resistance, then, there's a million reasons why people resist, and we're going to just talk about a few of those. Next slide, please, Sean. And again, pull the slide out for me if you wouldn't mind. So these guys, Rogers and Shoemaker, talk about different ways in which people might respond to change. And so we've got the experimenters at the top there, people who like to toy almost with new gadgets and experience. You probably know people like this in many respects. Maybe you're one of those kinds of people. And then we've got the early adopters, people like to try things and put them into a practical use. And again, maybe you can see yourself in that sort of area. We've got the pragmatists, majority who accept things new only after it's kind of proven, and they've kind of got no choice because that's the way we've moved. Then we've got the late adopters, and the next point or two, please, Sean. And then we've got the resistors who actively block the changes. But actually, when we're thinking about innovation, we have to first recognize that we've got a spectrum of people that are going to respond to change in a different way for a variety of reasons. But also think about how do we work with those people. That's really important. So if we think about the experimenters and the early adopters, they're the people that would like to form that coalition of the willing, as I put it, really, because engaging with people that want to do things is far better than trying to bring people kicking and screaming to an innovative change. But also think about the resistors, and we can work with those people as well, because they might have something worthwhile saying. Next slide, please, Sean. Again, that's just reiterating the points there. Again, there's about 5 points, Sean, if you just want to release the points on here. So these are the top reasons why people resist change, and really what can we do and what can we think about when we're driving our innovation forward. People, they say they don't see the need for change. So this is born out of all the research that I've done over the years. It's born out of the applications and business improvement that I've driven for many years. And when people don't see the need to change, then that becomes a barrier. Okay, so we have to be, the way we communicate, we have to send convincing messages for those sort of people. They don't agree with the approach to change. Again, people will say, well, the change is okay, but we're doing it, we could do it better, we could do it different. And I've heard myself saying this on certain occasions at the University of Derby, where I think we could do it in a different way, or the way that we're tackling it isn't going to be the best, most effective way to deliver the results. Again, we could think about coaching interventions, different ways of engaging people, but listening skills are really important when you're trying to drive change, because people will have an input who know the business as well as the technology. Another one is they don't believe their own capability to step up. So again, people are fearful of technology very often because they haven't got the skills necessarily. So providing training, encouragement and guidance and support is massively required when you're implementing change. What does this mean for me is another question that people will often ask, and it's that fear of the unknown. We can get triggers from history where things have happened before, where changes come along before and it's not worked out favorably. So it's often difficult to unpick why people resist change, but these are some of the guiding points that you can be aware of when starting to think about it. And again, the last point there, are they serious about it, the management? You know, because often change comes up from up on high and people don't believe the leaders of that organization necessarily. They think they may not be giving it the full service that it deserves. So again, showing support and empowerment and commitment and building trust are huge in the area of change. Next slide, please, Sean. So this is John Fisher's adaptation of a transition curve initiated by a lady called Elizabeth Kubler-Ross in 1969. She was looking at terminally ill patients and what sort of emotions she goes through. And interestingly, when I talk to my students about things like this, that especially engineers, their eyes glaze over and they wonder what the hell I'm talking about with emotional intelligence. And then, you know, I got a guest lecture in only a few weeks ago talking to students about business improvement, and lo and behold, he brings this similar slide up to this. So, you know, it does matter in industry, it does matter in engineering. And what this dictates is how people go through the roller coaster of emotional change when they're confronting a certain kind of change in an organization, of which, you know, technology is the driver of a lot of those changes. And people, you know, become anxious about the change, fearful, maybe they're getting angry about it and start to slip into depression. And what we've got to try and do is recognize the different stages that people might go through and sort of work out how we can help people to get through that, and at least be mindful of how people you know, may struggle with certain changes, because if people resist and struggle with changes, that helps towards the downfall of the change itself. So really important to recognize this particular piece. Next slide, please, Sean. So I guess the takeaway message, you know, if you want to innovate, then I'm guessing, you know, I'm stating that you need to lead, really. So everything that's, you know, created is first created in the mind. So be a thought leader. So don't just think about the technology, but think about the whole thing. Think about the strategic element, how it fits the business needs, and how you are going to deliver that particular change. You need a change management plan to deliver a technical technology change as such. What I would say is anybody studying in this, the younger people studying this, is to work on interpersonal skills now and be the best that you can be today, but even better tomorrow. And that's a continual improvement approach to doing that. And, you know, when I talk about leadership, people seem to think they need to be in a role that says I'm the leader of a company or whatever else, but that's not in fact true. Anybody can be a leader, and it's leadership qualities. And these leadership qualities will help you throughout your careers, and also delivering on innovation. So say yes to any exciting opportunity that enables you to grow and challenge you and develop your skills in a certain way. And remember the change philosophy. You know, the 100 people taking one step is far better than one person taking 100 steps. So that means that you've got to bring other people into the change. You've got to build relationships. You're going to have to collaborate, because actually, when it comes to doing anything, doing it on your own is going to be pretty tough. You need to work with other people. You need to collaborate, and you need to focus on relationships. Okay, next slide. I think that's pretty much it from my perspective, Sean. So thank you very much. I'll pass you over to Sean.
Just if anybody wanted to ask any specific, I know we've seen some questions on the chat, and I think Rachel's answered a couple of those. If there are any particular questions you wanted to ask verbally, if you want to pop those in now, or do please feel free to speak up.
We've got one specific question in from Blake, which is, what do you find is the best way to break resistance to change? I assume that's to change. Probably one for you, John, possibly.
Well, it all depends. You know, resistance is a difficult problem to deal with. But I think that the best thing you can do first and foremost is to listen. You know, I think there's some research out that's a high percentage of leaders and directors of organisations admit that they are not the best when it comes to listening skills, and it's almost the forgotten skill. And when I say listening, it's not just about hearing what people say. It's listening to tonality of voice. It's understanding body language, and it's looking at the words that people use. You know. And trying to get to understand, you know, what's really behind the resistance. And often I've found over my years in business improvement that 50 or 60% of the resistance can be negated just by actually talking to people. Because when it turns out, I've had people turn around to me and say, well, you know, they've resisted certain things, or they're angry about it, or whatever else. And after 25 minutes, half an hour conversation, they're actually admitting that, well, you know, they're a bit stressed out at home, and they've got a few other problems going off, and it's not really this. And, you know, so I think taking time to show people that you're listening, and be genuine. You've got to be genuine. You can't actually, you know, pay lip service to that. So it's come from a genuine, heartfelt attempt to understand that other person.
Can I just reinforce that then, just to say, yeah, I've had lots of resistance over nearly 40 years of being in business now. I think, you know, I agree with John 100%. You know, bring people on that journey with you. You know, so plenty of dialogue, explain to people why you're doing it. John's is really bang on the money. You know, listen to what people are saying. Don't listen to answer, listen to understand. A lot of people listen to be able to give you an answer because they think they should give you an answer, but really listen to what people are saying, so you actually understand what they're asking. Once you've communicated, and keep that communication up, don't, you know, spend your time working with the people that do get it, because I think what you'll find is that some of the dissenters will come along once they get, because they'll see what's happening to other people and that they're adapting to it, and they'll come along like with John's change curve. You can see that people adapt to change at different rates. People will come along, but I think the final point to make on this is also be aware of the fact that there may be some people that won't change. But I think look on that as a positive thing, because in an organisation, if you've got somebody that won't change, in reality, when you look really, really deeply, probably didn't share your company values in the first place, they're probably a bad fit for you. So focus on the communication, focus on the people that can, but just be prepared that there may be a little bit of attrition, depending on how difficult that change or that innovation is.
Yeah, that's really helpful, and that's been. I popped in the chat here an example of Romo Fabrics as well in Ashfield, because they moved to a brand new facility and a really a completely automated system from one that had been very manual, and they had it's exactly almost textbook how you've explained it today, with their challenges, and their big feedback from their leadership team was invest in that transition process and in the people, because it takes longer and it's more complex than you think it's going to be, and taking time for those resistors in particular to come on board and see the benefit was really was a key working point from then. I've got a couple of points in here. Lawrence made some comments about EV adoption. Is there anything you want to say about it? You're welcome to come off mute, Lawrence, if there's anything you'd like to share about some of the challenges you've come across in EV adoption. But you're also happy to say no, you don't want to say anything. I'll come back to you.
I was just going to say that I'd probably like I noticed on the chat there's Nathan has said he works for a company where change happens, but there's very little communication. Quite often, as a member of the production team, he's the last to know that the change is coming. And ask the two speakers whether they've had that kind of experience, and perhaps what's going wrong there. What is it that the company should be doing but isn't?
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of, obviously I don't know the context behind this, but I think generally in terms of if it's a significant change, it should be communicated, and it can't be over communicated. And I think, coming back to that point on resistance, people resist for different reasons, and I think that resistance is always perceived to be negative, but actually what's negative is the response to resistance. If you can respond to resistance in a positive way, then that changes the dynamic. And I think really, from a leadership point of view, people should be communicating any changes, and they should be, especially if it's affecting people in production, they should be looking at and anticipating what that might mean for these people, and really bring them into that change conversation. They should be really involved. I mean, it's difficult.
It goes back to what I said about involve as many people as many stakeholders as you can in that decision, because there's more tendency for you to come on that journey. But I think you've also got to be mindful of the fact that there are some people who just professional resistors of change and resistors to innovation. That you will always have problems with, but it is about dialogue. It's about dialogue.
But I do also, in practical terms, in industry, people are very much under pressure to get things done, and often maybe they've not had the benefit of different levels of education, and they've been thrust into these roles. Traditionally we put the best engineer into a management role, and it's a completely different topic, really, skill set to manage than it is to be an engineer. And so really I encourage any engineers to be good managers and leaders as well. So sometimes, if I was in that position, I would be going back to my boss, and that's a delicate relationship, managing up, but asking questions in the right way, asking what could he have told you sooner, is there a better way, what you were missing information wise, or the impact that's had on you within, and the fact that you'd like to understand more, you'd like to get involved more, and you'd like to take on more responsibility. And I think anybody in a leadership role listening to somebody that wants to take on more responsibility, then it's hard to push back. So that's a good response.
Something I had particular success with was what I realised was, after a long time, used to get, when you went to communicate with the staff, we either did that in a newsletter, or if it's something really important, we got people together, there was a collective meeting, and you'd never got any feedback whatsoever. You'd say your piece and they'd say, any questions for me, and you could feel tumbleweed blowing around your feet. Nobody wanted to communicate with you. And did a piece of work with a employment psychologist, so we broke that communication process. It was hard work. We broke that into smaller groups, and we also broke it. So what you tend to find within any organisation, then you'll get a bit of pack mentality. People tend to congregate into packs. So we broke the packs up and mixed them up. Instead of communicating to 50 people, we communicated to 5 at a time. And once we got sat down and did 5, the communication became a two-way process. It was really, really valuable. So it vary your style. People sometimes don't want to say something in front of 50 other people, but they'll say it in front of a smaller group.
Absolutely.
Just at the start of this, when I was giving an overview of the Institute of Technology, what you might have noticed, and I didn't mention it particularly at the time was that the fourth strand of our activity is around leadership and management, which reflects exactly what we've just been talking about, because it's really important that not only do we develop and grow the level of technical competency that we need for the region, but that actually we have a mechanism to prepare those specialists to be good, insightful leaders within those industries as we go forward. So, and this is a really excellent example of a cross-cutting theme which needs a lot of leadership and management skill to make it happen successfully. And actually, if we get that right, and we get that right across our workforce, collectively we help make the region more prosperous and successful, and actually, you know, grasp a lot of the opportunities that exist on our doorstep. So this really is a kind of collective effort.
Yeah.
What I would say, Nathan, is possibly you might want to float some of those courses and opportunities with your management subtly. We'll try and get you some leaflets and bits and bobs. But it's a good idea.
I'm a massive fan of servant leadership. So where you servant leadership says, you know, as a leader, you create the processes and the environment to deliver the product or the service, and then get out of the way and let the staff get on with it. Because I do see that a lot of times where you get leaders get in the way. So the leader's job is create the processes, create the environment, give them the resources, stand out the way, and you only need to intervene if something's not going well. But I'll tell you what, generally, it's a lot of leaders find it really difficult to get in their mind, because it's very different to that traditional way of leadership, but it works.
Yeah,
100%, Martin. Absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
Okay, we're coming to the close of this session, and I'll just hand over to Sean in a second for any closing words. I'd really like to thank John and Martin for their time today and for sharing their learning and insight with everybody. Moving forward, as I said, we're going to be making these aren't going to be overly engineered events, and we're going to make sure that they're going to be fairly quick. They'll be on taster areas, and what we'd like to do is respond as well to the audience as to things that you'd like to know more about. Moving forward, we know we're going to be doing a session on the kind of growth opportunities that are happening across the East Midlands. So what are things like the Freeport likely to do for the dynamics of industry around us, and what kind of industries can we see growing or shrinking in region? We think that'll be relevant to a lot of people. We're going to be doing some short sessions on decarbonising energy supply across the East Midlands, and this links to some work we're doing around the energy transition that that's occurring across the region, and what that's going to mean in terms of jobs, careers, and the profile of industry. And we'll be doing some industry insights as well with some of our partners and beyond, so that they can come and talk specifically about the innovation that's happening within their own sectors, and what that means in terms of career opportunities, and of sector growth opportunities in region. If there are other things in addition to that you would really like to know more about, or organisations where you'd like to potentially develop a visit or actually see in practice what's happening, we'd really like to hear, particularly from our students and academic staff, to feed in and let us know. But on that, and I know Sean will be coming out to you to ask for some feedback as well afterwards. But on that, I'd like to thank everybody, and I'll hand over to Sean for closing words.
Yeah, just reiterating, thank you very much for giving up your valuable time to come along today to this first IoT Inspire event. Obviously, as you can see from the last slide there, we are on both, we do have a website and we are on social media, so please do follow us, and we'll be posting information about events as they come up. And as Rachel says, I'll be following up to get feedback, but also to provide a link to the resources that you've seen today. Again, thank you very much for coming along. I'm sure you're all busy, and we hope to see you again in the future. Take care.
Thank you very much.
Okay, take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.